Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head with that. For two things there. You realize, and I don't know if everybody knows the backstory, but you got to realize that Bruno did leave Vince for a period of time when he got screwed over by Buddy Rogers, and he went to Toronto, and what had happened was Buddy Rogers was one of the first guys that really understood how to get in and gain control of a territory from his position, and was very shrewd about it. And so he was kind of in control. He was a champion there, and he would do things sometimes to people and act like they were accidents, and where he would badly injure them. And as a matter of fact, he did it to his own one of his dearest friends, a guy named Billy Darnell, and he would do a giant swing on them, and in the giant swing, when he would release them, sometimes he was very careless about where he released them, as the story quote I got. And so he would release them where they would fly through the ropes and badly injured. And I understand he put Billy Darnell in the hospital, who was his good friend. And he came up there all teary-eyed and crying, "Oh my gosh, Billy, I don't know what happened," you know. But so then he did the same thing to San Martino, and San Martino got up off the ground and came up on the ring and literally beat the crap out of him. So when that happened, San Martino was at the mercy of his control there. So his bookings went to crap, and his wife was very ill at the time, and he needed the money, and so he gave his notice, and he left, and he tried to leave, and what they did, they used the power then of the old-time athletic commissions, and they suspended him all over, so he couldn't work anywhere, because back then they honored these athletic commission suspensions, and so they suspended him where he couldn't work. So he had to come back and apologize to Rogers and eat crow, and then run around and do jobs for Rogers and his crew. Well, this time when he gave notice, he gave the notice correctly. He gave the notice to every single commissioner, and then he left, and so then he went to Toronto. And when he got to Toronto, Frank Tunney started putting him over, because, I mean, here's a dynamic, young, powerful Italian, and Toronto had a huge ethnic Italian area group, and so he starts putting him over, and Bruno starts drawing like heck. So then the story goes that Vince then came up and tried to convince Tunney that really he was a bad guy, and that Tunney shouldn't risk his territory by putting this guy over and this kind of thing. So Tunney started listening to Vince, because they were close friends, and he starts beating Bruno, and the houses start dropping, and Bruno's not complaining. He's doing what's required of him, like a guy, like the champion he was. He figured, well, that this is your company and your business, and that's what you want to do. I'm up here working for you. At least he was still making money, enough money to send money home. So he's doing it, and Tunney's watching the houses drop as this kid is doing exactly what he asked. So then Tunney realizes, wait a minute, I'm killing the golden goose, the guy that laid the egg. So Tunney then reverses that situation, and he starts putting him back over, and the houses came back up, and Bruno was doing fantastic. Well, then at the same time, Rogers is trying to manipulate Vince in a situation back east, and Vince is desperate, and so he comes and courts Bruno, because he's been watching what's happening. So all of a sudden the deal gets reversed, and Vince comes to Bruno and says, "I want you to come back to New York, I'll make you the champion," and yada yada yada. And Bruno says, "Well, I will do that on one condition. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to work with Buddy Rogers. I will kill him." And so when the title changes, it's going to be the shortest match in history, and if he doesn't like it, I will literally beat him to death. And so it was an extremely short match, just a few seconds.
48 seconds.
Garden, and Buddy thought that he would fool him by doing it so short that Bruno would never get over. But here's the crazy thing. Bruno got over, and then Bruno had a guy that was another dear friend. He was an Italian named Monsoon, Gino Morella, Gorilla Monsoon, and he brings Gorilla in, and they start building Gorilla, and the thing catches fire, and they're doing big business. So Buddy Rogers' thing, it didn't ever do any good, and the whole thing is that it all worked for Bruno, and then Monsoon, and then Bob on down the line.